Edition of The Voice of Great Britain with me, Ian Pelham Turner.
Me, Helena Shard.
And me, Buche Pacharada.
Well, it's going to be another great show. We've got all sorts of great stories and some really intriguing news about what does the Sun think of Albanians. I can't believe what they've just said. So let's roll the titles and get on with the show. Well, it's another great show. Welcome again, ladies. I think the three of us now
Ian.
are really sort of coming together on these shows, and we're getting a lot of very good response from the shows as well. So I think, Helena, you're going to start off today with some interesting news.
We have. So there's lots of things flying around at the moment. First of all, just like to say congratulations to Eugenie, who is pregnant. We've just heard, breaking news. So congratulations to the whole family. And we've been talking about Sarah Ferguson at length because she really has been embraced by the royal family at the moment, which I find really heartwarming because I think she's so perky, isn't she, and so funny. And I think when the Duke of Edinburgh was alive, she wasn't around like at Christmas and things like that, and he didn't like her that much. So it's lovely to think now that she spends Christmas, and she's such a positive force.
And just to explain that Eugenie is Prince Andrew's daughter with Sarah Ferguson as well.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, so they've got another grandchild coming, so that will be their third, I think, won't it?
Absolutely.
Third real one. And obviously Sarah Ferguson as well, she led the memorial service for Lisa Marie, unfortunately passed recently. I hadn't realised that they were such good friends, and she was outside Gracelands giving a lovely memorial, just talking about, and she actually used something that Her Majesty the Queen, or the late Queen, used to say, which is, grief is the price we pay for love, which I think is so true. Yeah, it's so sad about Lisa Marie because obviously she's left children behind, only daughter of Elvis Presley. And another thing she said was, we march forward to support you, and that was to support the children, which I think is beautiful, isn't it? And I think nicely leading on to Prince Andrew is looking to overturn the settlement he paid out to Virginia Giuffre. So I don't know what everybody thinks about that. I mean, it was something like £12 billion that he paid out, and there's been lots of talk, and it's around a photograph, that this photograph has been around, isn't it? And they're saying that it's not a real photograph, it's been photoshopped.
Yeah, there's been another court case with Giuffre where she's actually backed down and changed, allegedly, from what I understand, some information. So now the royal lawyers are wondering whether or not they should go to an American court and try to overturn the original verdict. But as I understand it, there hasn't been a verdict as such. There's just been a sum of money, an alleged sum of money, paid to this lady. So it is like all these royal things, it's cased in controversy, but it's also cased in secrecy as well. So it'll be interesting to see if the royal lawyers do more about this, then obviously there would have to be disclosure on what's happened. And I've got a feeling that a non-disclosure agreement was signed.
So, yeah, it was, but was it for a certain period of time? It may be up soon. I just think, a settlement is a settlement, isn't it? And that was really it.
Well,
but I guess
it's an alleged settlement, and we always have to be very careful on these things because, unless something is actually stated, rumours are one thing.
I think it was stated.
you know,
I'm pretty sure it was stated.
There's been so many royal stories that, you know, that you sometimes it's hard to remember what's happened in the past. But, you know, if we use the word allegations and allege that we are safe.
I think we're safe on this one. I think it's out there. It's out there that some of the money was said. And it is a bit suspect, isn't it? You know, it's a royal time in a way. He's got, you know, has he got a role to play with the coronation and everything coming up?
What do you think, Ruth, about all
I
of
would
this?
have loved, you know, to see him being there for a coronation of King Charles, where he belongs, to be honest. Even though I have read so much about the case, it was something that you believe what media writes. And it was frustrating at that time we were reading, but now there come up news that it might be actually not so true. And you think, how is he going to approach that? How he's going to clear his name more than settlements in the money?
Yeah, and I think probably just as important for him was that at the Queen's funeral, he wasn't allowed to wear his military uniform. And I think that's something that probably really grates with him, because out of all the people apart from Harry, or Harold, as we now know him as,
Yes.
Harold?
Harold and Willie.
He's the only one who's actually done active service, I think, in the Falklands, wasn't he? He was in the Falklands.
And because he's had his medals and everything, his status taken away, he's obviously wants to work towards getting it back. But just to, you know, at the end of the day, I think the USA, all the legal people there have said, just don't do it. Do not do it. It will be a nightmare. So we'll see what happens. But also we've got the coronation, as we know, coming up on the 6th of May. King Charles and Queen Camilla. So that's on May the 6th.
Well, you'll notice today, I don't know whether I can show a sock.
Oh my goodness. Hey, God save our gracious king.
I have my Union Jack socks on today as well.
So you get him prepared in advance.
Getting prepared in advance.
Very
Don't
good.
mind, I won't be wearing a Union Jack costume for the event.
Well, we have to support in any
Yeah,
way. Even
we
if
do.
it means that I'm going to wear a dress.
Yeah, you wear dresses. You look lovely in dresses.
Yeah, I mean, Union Jack, you remember Spice Girls? They wore, what was the name?
Yeah,
The Ginger.
Ginger Spice, Jerry.
Yeah, so
Jerry
we
Halliwell.
can just go there. We have a way of supporting,
So the coronation is on the 6th, 7th and 8th of May. So even if you're not a royalist, you've got a bank holiday there, and it's, you know, we're great at celebrating, aren't we, here?
Oh,
we
yes.
really are great. And I think everyone's quite shocked. They're thinking, wow, Camilla's going to be crowned as well. Unbelievable. But in 1936, King George VI was crowned with Queen Elizabeth. And that's obviously the late Queen's mother and father. So it is the reason why the Duke of Edinburgh wasn't king, is it is actually law that a man cannot become king when it's the Queen that's... So it's an unusual one, isn't it? But there we go, 3 days of partying. We've got the coronation is at Westminster Abbey, big procession, balcony moment. We've got the concert the next day at Windsor Castle. Hopefully we'll all get our invites. And there's a light show and lots of street shows. But for me, and I think it's great what they've done. So on May the 8th, it's something they put out, which is the big help out, and it's for everyone to get involved in some form of volunteering. So everybody in the UK.
And
Lovely.
I think it's good for Britain as well, because there was a spike in spending during the Queen's celebration this year. So obviously people spent more because they felt good, you know, and watched this over a period of a week, and people spent more money, so it's good for the economy as well.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, it's slightly different, isn't it? The cost of living, I think, in May will have really set in, but yeah, we're all excited, which is good fun. One of the things as well that I was reading today, our lovely government has been accused of consistently deprioritising women's health. And there is something that's come out which is a league table, and believe it or not, our health system for women is worse than it is in China, which I found quite surprising. And Latvia, it's the best, and they really do, you know, it's a belief that I think is great, you know, fix people, try and help people get well, and obviously in the long run it's going to be so much better, isn't it, for everyone? So I think this leads on to a little video that we've got.
Can I just ask beforehand, how is it perceived in Albania, you know, women's health? Is there a lot more interest, is there a lot more funding, for example?
I wouldn't know to answer that question due to not being living there, but I know that it is probably similar to everywhere in the world at the moment due to fundings, lack of fundings. There is quite a lot of private, health organizations that look after women's health. Women are more aware of their bodies and their health, so they seek advice everywhere, any charities or any organizations that has to do with health.
Okay, and is it a private health system in Albania, or is it like an NHS, or?
Yeah, there is one like an NHS, like it is, yes, but it's not as probably good as private ones, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so shall we?
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see where it is in Albania is on the league table, because apparently they've got all the countries listed.
I would like to search on that and probably come back on the next time we talk
we'll
about
do it on the
health.
show. So shall we roll
Yeah,
the...
so just to say, so gynecology, apparently waiting times have tripled. And we're in the middle of Cervical Cancer Prevention Week, which is the 23rd to the 29th of Jan. And we have got a video to roll. And I think it's so important, isn't it, to talk about things? It just helps. And this little video really just is basically telling everyone, you know, if you've got an appointment, go to it. So I think let's play it.
I cannot stress enough the importance of taking up the invitation for cervical screening when you are contacted. This screening program saves 5,000 lives each year, and yet 1 in 5 women do not accept the invitation. We know that embarrassment is a factor that stops some women from accepting the invitation. As healthcare professionals, we are perfectly placed to have conversations with our patients, encouraging them to attend and reassuring them that this is a simple test that may well save their lives. This test is usually performed by a practice nurse. The smear test is quick, simple, and nothing to worry about. In around 95% of cases, the results are normal, and most abnormal cases are easily treated and will never develop into cancer if picked up early. So if you have had an invitation for cervical screening, or have missed your appointment, or are due to be screened, please make contact with your GP surgery so that an appointment to suit your convenience can be made. It may well save your lives. Together, we can stop cancer even before it begins. Thank you.
A very, very interesting video, and obviously, you know, it affects all people, because obviously men want to look after their wives and their sweethearts as well at the same time. And I know I've been watching the past few days, there's been quite a lot of programming on how the test has helped women who didn't realise they'd got cervical cancer actually survived it as well. So apparently, from what I understand, there's a drug or something now as well that can actually help with cervical cancer. You know, and so it's helped. You know, it can help a lot of women if it's caught early enough.
And also there's HPV testing, which is quite important that they do now. I can't remember what the age group is now, but yeah, really, human papillomavirus virus, I think it stands for, which is really important. But the main thing is, you know, encouraging people to take action is just so important. So great that we played that. Did anyone else want to say anything? But I just was going to move on to a young boy called Teddy.
Yes.
4 years old, and an
Goodness me.
amazing little boy.
He's obviously competing against me for the...
Oh dear, he has to.
Competing
he has to
against
involve
all of us.
himself. He is. So can you imagine? So he is now part of Mensa. He joined Mensa, I think, when he was 3 years old. But he taught himself to read at the age of 2, and he can count to 100 in 6 non-native languages. But it was incredible because his mum basically could hear him sort of making funny noises, and that was him speaking Mandarin. Mandarin. And she said to the teacher at school, she said, I think he's taught himself how to read. So the teacher did do some tests on him and everything, and came back and said, yeah, absolutely. I mean, how incredible.
I wonder sometimes, I've always thought about regression for myself to find out, if I had a previous life. But it sounds like Einstein or something, that has been reincarnated in Teddy. It's one of these things. And just to understand, Mensa is an organisation that actually measures intelligence levels. And I think if you get over a figure of 150, I think is the Mensa level, then you can become a member of Mensa. But some of these people, very quickly, just adding to that, years ago, I was sent, when I was a journalist, I was sent to this centre down in Bristol, in the west of England, where extremely bright children would come every weekend because they were so lonely. They are so intelligent that they find it boring to talk to other children of their own age, and so they brought these children together from all over the country every weekend. And I remember that in those days I had an electronic flash on my camera, and my electronic flash wouldn't work, and this young schoolboy, and he was up to about my knee, he said, don't worry, sir, don't worry, sir, I'll fix it for you. And within seconds, this electronic flash was in 1,000 parts, and I'm thinking, oh my God, what have I done? And he put it back together again, and it worked perfecly.
Incredible, isn't it?
So there are highly gifted children.
Really, I know. You just wonder how could it be when? But I mean, 2 years old. The interesting thing about this Teddy is that he's so wise as well, wise head, wise shoulders, because he said, well, Mummy, I'm very good at this, but I can't run as fast as the people in my class.
Yeah.
So he had that level of wisdom. I think, just beautiful, amazing, absolutely.
But it's a great story, and I think it's something nice to lead on to, because we got some very positive Albanian stories today as well.
Yes, I was just scrolling around as to research about events that are happening. We have Independence Kosovan Day, which is going to happen very soon on the 17th of February. And I came across Dritan Kastrati, who is a director of theatre, a scene, and I spoke to him, and he said, I invited to our show, but because they're going to have the screen on 26th of this month, he said that I can speak about him, to tell about the show they're going to have, which is called How Not to Drown. It was him, is a true story, unfortunately, who tells a story about him being 11-year-old. Due to the war in Kosovo, he had to leave the country, and his father paid smugglers to actually just get him out of the Kosovo. And he had through this screen, he has through this show, he has shown how an 11-year-old had to be alone, not knowing the language, not having his parents or anybody to look after him, to go through the whole of Europe, come to Britain, and being, come to the British, to the social services to look after him. So I'm actually looking forward to see the movie or the theatre, just to find out how did he actually put that all together. So I'm looking forward.
Did he say he was well treated when he came to Britain?
Yes, of course. I mean, it's so nice to see him now having a profession. Then he's able to tell his story through the arts. And not many of them had the opportunity. I don't know much about him, which is something that I'm thinking of him coming and telling us all about himself.
I love that. It's such a...
And I don't know, because it's so useful for arts to be able to get involved in things like this as well, isn't it?
Absolutely, and you can tell your story through the arts and just the whole creativity thing. So it'd be really interesting to meet him and his story. It's that from adversity to success, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
So
and he's a young man.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So do you know when it starts? The actual
26th of January in Streatham Theatre.
Yeah.
So it's going to go all over Britain,
Yeah.
Manchester, Birmingham, Edinburgh Festival. And I was looking at the reviews. They have fantastic reviews from so many of the magazines and the reviewers. So I'm looking forward to watching it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well.
A good news Albanian story. I think in a week when again, other things I'll be wanting to talk about as well.
Yeah.
So what do you think about what's been going on that has caused a problem?
Oh, Ian, you wake up and then you think, I have a good story about positive people coming, showing the good work. And then there is a story about in the sun. And you get frustrated reading how they could cooperate. Albanians calling them, they are trained, I think the
Mercenaries,
mercenaries, they're trained to kill people. Where did this come from? Why now we are such, associated in murders, in drugs and all of that?
Cartel drug barons and things.
Yeah.
So it's
we
not
have
fair,
it on
is
a
it?
screen
It's not
there.
fair.
It's just they are trained that they don't have the factual information, and this is like.
You see, I think I've worked in Albania. I've talked to the equivalent to the Home Office minister at that time in Albania. Recently, I was talking to the ambassador in London as well, and for whatever reason at the moment, Albanians, in my view, have been spotlighted because they are an easy group to hit out at. When I was talking to the ambassador, he was saying that, officially, if there are illegal Albanians in Britain, he is supposed to have knowledge of this. And, he was saying that the communication system may have broken down between the Home Office and the Albanian embassy, regarding this type of reporting as well. And I think that for me, I take a different view on it. And my view is it's very easy to hit out at Albanians. That they have a reputation, in media eyes, of being, drug barons and running all sorts of groups. Nothing is further from the truth at all. Nothing is further than the truth, and I remember when with Helidon Castrati, the owner of ALB UK TV, we went to Albania and we discovered the true facts about what has been going on as well. And it's a nonsense, but how do you deal with something like that?
Exactly, that is the question. Is it going to work that all the organization, I mean charity organizations, getting together, make a petition or do any protest, what is it that we have to do to show that is not what they're writing?
Yeah.
Especially, it's okay when they mention one case or two that illegal people are working, but they're
Sure.
not making crimes if they're working, in my view.
Sure.
They're working, paying taxes, probably under other name,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
So
then
speaking
is
to
that
the
a crime?
president then is
So
quite
how,
important.
because you do a lot of television, you know, so what would your advice
you
be?
know, I was just thinking, you know, speaking to the president to begin with, just to see how it can be sorted in that respect. But also, you know, how do you get the truth and get the truth out there? I do think sometimes with these stories, they bring the stories in just to sideline something else, and then it will just disappear very quickly. But
Yeah.
still, it's very upsetting to everyone, and it is trying to get the truth out there. So we need to put our heads together and I think really
See,
think things through.
the way I look at things, I mean, I think there's a much more underlying reason why this has happened this week. I've got no real evidence to prove this, but I would guess this is come out of some government department at the moment to go to the Sun to take off any sort of stories that may be involving governments right now, government ministers, including Rishi Sunak as well. To take them off the front page.
They've been on the front page though, haven't they? All of them.
No, I know that, but this is continuing on, and basically, you know, some of these stories could be extremely damaging again for Rishi Sunak, especially. And perhaps it's my cynical view of media, you know, being a journalist 56 years now, but it smacks to me that they're rushing around trying to find anything to take off what their problems are. And so anything that, you know, when I look at a headline, like the Sun's headline, that smacks to me of just government propaganda, trying to sort of change the look of something. But as you both said, how do you deal with something like that? That's the difficulty, because if you start answering it too much, all that does is elongate, and that works to the government's advantage, because anything that takes off, you know, the essential stories that are happening with the government being held with their feet to the fire right now, will work for the government more than it'll work for Albanian people. I think, you know, in some ways, one of the best things to do right now is that we bring more Albanians into shows like this, people like yourselves as well, so that we can actually show totally how Albanians really live with their lives. You know, and you know, we all know Albanians, and obviously I'm privileged to work with a channel like this as well. And I think, you know, the reality is that I think the figure was something like about 1 or 2% of Albanians in Britain have got a criminal record. It's
Imagine the
It's
whole
minute.
other nationalities that live in Britain. Your target is such a small number of Albanians living legally or illegally, let's say, in the country. And then we try, every time you have positive news about people being educated, getting out there, doing the work, and then you have a comment or an article like that, going just beyond of something that it is true. There are no facts in there. We could ignore that, but then it's affecting other, because it's media, and we know the Sun is a big one, that there are people out there believe in it, and it's making a bad reputation for us. So our thinking is it us, you know, like saying to all the organizations, charity organization, individuals, and academics and everybody, do we get together and sue the government or sue whoever is making up the stories like this?
I think keep talking and keep sharing positive stories and keep talking.
Yeah.
You know, broadcast is perfect to share. As we're talking now, it's like a debate.
Yeah.
So then you're talking the truth, and that filters out the ripple effect, and that's really important, and that's something that we can do now. And yeah, involve more people
And I
to
think
tell
as
their
well,
stories.
the other thing, of course, is that we're hearing rumours that there may be people taking money in order to put positive news stories out about Albanians. You see, you know, for me, every Albanian that I've ever met has been wonderful. You know, first of all, and I think, as I say, you know, I get the anger because you're probably aware that, you know, when stories like this happen, then in the school playgrounds, you know, Albanian children are
Yeah,
pointed
that's
at.
what you
Yeah,
said, isn't
also, when I am asked by intellectual people, I present myself as somebody working in a media, even though it is a community television, Albanian television. They automatically ask you, what do you think about these articles? Because it is your colleagues that have written about Albanians being criminals, so what it is with the Albanians. So it puts me in a catch-22 where my television and I am in is small. So where do my word goes out there to say, Sun is a big, we know is a big news organizations, and they can actually make believe other people. So my word of being positive is not listened.
No.
But don't underestimate your word though, because you know it takes one person, then another person. Before you know it, you've got a great big campaign going. So it has to start
Well, as I say,
somewhere.
I
think-
won't stop
sorry.
spreading. Sorry, interrupting. I won't spread. I won't stop spreading the good. My work and my colleagues' work and all other individuals out there that they really hard. They try hard to have a good life, to get you know, to live in the country that they've chosen to live, and they have a good life, and not actually getting the negative side of other biggest media. We know Sun. We might know that they don't write the actual facts. They are not true, but
No,
they believe them what they read.
Well,
They're going to question you.
I think for many years, as you know, I worked in newspapers, and when I first started in newspapers in 1966, and I worked for a local newspaper in Kent where I was born and raised. I remember the first ever news editor who actually joined me in Fleet Street many years later. But the first news editor, he told me, he said, never spoil the story with the truth. and I think, you know, welcome to the Sun. You know, I'm not saying that all the stories in the Sun are untrue or anything like that. But I think sometimes when you get a story like that, the Sun and other newspapers should remember that, I would say, 99% of Albanians in Britain are peaceful. They're adding value to Britain. But not only that, they should remember as well that, you know, adults have children who are now being picked upon purely because a story in the Sun is trying to, for whatever reason, create a sensation. And where did it come from in the first place? Has it come from a government source? Just trying to cover their tracks on some of the other infidelities that have been going on within the government at the moment. And as I say, the cynical view of me is, you know, it sounds like black propaganda coming out of some government department, but I could be totally wrong.
We can just probably say to the Sun, when you put these type of stories, there are lots. You have Alb UK TV and journalists that they could give you correct information, not putting the people that they are not there. Actually, they don't belong. They are somewhere else, and we have the pictures of them people. And stop spreading bad news.
And I think the only other thing
Absolutely.
you can do is ask a right of reply. which I think is quite important. So that might be one way of talking about the situation as well. And don't forget that when ALB UK TV and Halidon Castrati and the Albanian ambassador, Mr. Chico, challenged a report on another Murdoch channel, Sky News. You know, a lot of what we actually said was agreed on by Ofcom, the governing body. So, you know, so it can be challenged as well.
We were trying to continue living and thinking that newspapers like Sun and others that we know, we just continue, you know, get on with the job with other things.
It was because, you know, that tomorrow it could be some footballer, you know, doing something bad. You know, the next day it's you know, these newspapers nowadays want to sensationalize everything, and I think basically newspapers are competing against media television. And I, you know, for me, what I think is really at the root cause of all of this sensation is 24-hour rolling news, where it's become much more sensationalized, and journalists have had to sensationalize a story so that they can keep people awake at 3 o'clock in the morning, who may be watching them then as well. So, you know, I would take all these stories, and including the one in the Sun, with a huge pinch of salt, as we say in Britain, because I just, you know, I think probably the best policy should be for the Albanian community to ask for a proper right of reply, and I think that would be the best policy.
I agree with you on that one, and we should do, most probably.
Yes, let's do it, and let's see what's said. Everyone has to speak their truth, and I
Do you
think
have
that's...
any more?
Well, you know, how long have we got? We've got, I mean, there's lots of things. I mean, one thing that I thought was quite funny, which is a complete change of story, is man's best friend is now a pig. This is what I've heard.
Right.
And,
Okay.
and I would like to ask you all, would you like to cuddle up to a pig?
No.
No.
I think the
How wicked.
but I'm still intrigued. So I don't know why my mind suddenly flashed to sausages.
Oh no, you're on the wrong line there, Ian.
Well,
this is cutesy stuff, not pork sausages.
But I'm still intrigued to know what caused the battle between Harry and William over sausages.
Oh no, that was no. So basically, so Willie had 3 sausages, I think, and Harold had 2. But it's complete madness because obviously Harold was a lot younger, so he had less sausages. I don't know what the big deal is, but that's what it was all to do with. And Harold had to put that in the book because he was most slighted.
Oh, dear God.
What can we say? So, I mean, yes, so micro pigs. So micro pigs are those little tiny ones, and they're beautiful.
I know, my daughter loves them.
They are beautiful.
Yeah, she asked for it as a pet, and I
Really?
said, no, we can just have a look at somewhere. No.
They're very bright. They're very bright, incredibly bright. But this, I think, was actually full-sized pigs as well, because they obviously start very small, not the micro ones, and then they're huge. But they're really apparently good company. But you know, when it comes down to it, it's supposed to be a dog is man's best friend, and I think a dog pips the post. Although I do love cats.
I'm just thinking, what do you do with a pig apart from...
No, well, don't say it on television.
I won't say anything.
Because children are watching it.
Yes.
You know, just say we love our pigs as well.
You know, and also it's a myth about pigs being really dirty. They're clean animals and they're bright.
Well,
okay.
you see, Peppa Pig, we know.
Yes.
I love it, so we can't say anything more.
I can only relate back as that as a child, my mother's relatives from Aberdeenshire were all pig farmers. And I remember sort of, you know, and so, you know, we would go on our holidays to Scotland, so, you know, several times, and the aroma, let's put it that way, of as we were getting closer to farm of pigs, was not the most easiest thing to actually.
It's very good for you.
Is that it now?
Well, we could go on and on, but
I think,
it might be a nice little cutesy one to finish on. I don't know.
I think we've done that
Yeah.
to death. So can we just have final comments? British first. What about Albanians at the moment? What do you want to see?
Nothing apart from saying that we are looking forward to another celebration of Kosovan Independence Day, and I'm sure that there is time now that lots of professional individuals, groups, they would like to celebrate on a day. So most probably next week or the week after, I will be able to tell you more what is going on and what are the plans. At the moment, we're just looking forward to that day. That is on the 17th of February.
Excellent.
But due to holidays being, the half-term holidays and other holidays, people most probably are looking to sort of do them before the actual date where diplomats has to gather together. We can't all go there.
Excellent.
Look
And
forward
Helena?
to that. Yeah, do you know, I'm looking forward to loads of celebrations. I think every day we have to find joy, don't we? So it doesn't matter. It
Yes.
can be a small thing. It can be having a coffee. It can be huge celebrations. And
I remember Valentine's Day is
Oh.
approaching, so we have to think something romantic, red and everything.
Oh, okay. And also another thing that I'd like to say, which I think is really true, is that I always think, you should always hang out with the right people. And I think it's important to have people around you, when you meet them, that their eyes really light up when they see you. That real bonding thing. It's so important. So I think you can spend your life sometimes maybe with the wrong people for whatever reason. So yeah.
Perhaps better bond with a pig, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, I think they're fluffy little animals, yeah.
Wasn't it? 'Cause
love them.
there was that strange story, wasn't there, years ago about this woman who married the Eiffel Tower, wasn't there? Do you remember that sort of strange story?
Yeah, not really.
Anyway, well,
Not really.
We can talk about
We're moving swiftly on.
I
What a
digress.
lovely show we've had. How would you like to end, Mr.
How
Turner?
would I like to end? First of all, I'd like to sort of say how sorry I feel for Albanians. Looking at this Sun story again, I wasn't aware of it, and how I think that it's important for Albanians, yes, to ask for a right of reply, but keep on doing what you're doing right now, which is bringing great value to Britain. And I think that's the most biggest thing of the lot. And please, 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 admit you're Albanians and not Italians or Greeks or whatever. You may be sort of trying to, glide over being Albanians. You should be proud Albanians. I am proud to know you, and I'm proud to be working with this channel, with Helena Castrati as well, and ALB UK TV. So I think it's very important right now for people like myself to speak up, people like Helena and Bridget to speak up as well on this subject, because it is a very important subject, and I get it. I get the reality that it's not only the parents who are hurting, it's the children that might be pointed out to as well during, playground activities. And of course they come home and they sort of take on this fear, they take on this disrespect as well. And so, it's another job for Albanian parents just to sort of say, this is not true at all. So for me, I want Albanians to win.
We want everyone to win.
Yeah.
We want
Yes.
fairness, don't we?
Absolutely.
There's so many extraordinarily wonderful people in the world,
Absolutely.
and we're going to bring them on the show and share everyone's stories.
Absolutely right. Absolutely. So we're going to wind up. So for me, Ian Pelham Turner.
Me, Helena Shard.
And me, Buche Pacharada.
Hopefully you've enjoyed this show. It's another show from ALB UK TV. Thank you to Helena Castrati for helping us to create a show like this as well. So this is The Voice of Great Britain, another great show. And we will see you again next week. Stay tuned.